Real questions, real answers for real life. Come on in and pull up a chair. You're at 1850 Main Street with Michael DelGiorno and David Zanotti.
Will podcasts determine the outcome of the next presidential election? RFK Jr. seems to think so. Let's talk about it today at 1850 Main Street.
Well, my first observation, I didn't know Bill Maher did 2-hour marijuana tequila sit-downs.
Is that what he was drinking? I couldn't tell. It was just a lot of liquor on the table.
It was tequila. And, you know, I've been following this journey of Bill Maher, this notion that you can go so far left that you come back out the other side right. I've seen that with libertarians and went so far right they came out the other side left. But what I was really blown away by in investing 2 hours in this piece was the character, the depth, and the discipline of Robert Kennedy Jr., along with the backdrop of a fascinating conversation from his Uncle Joe to his Uncle President Jack to his father Robert to the civil rights movement. I could go on and on and on. But I turned it off thinking, this is a pretty amazing man. This guy changes his views on the life issue, and he may be one of my favorite candidates of the last 40 years.
Okay, so are you shilling for RFK Jr.?
I can't get there. You know, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. If we don't agree on life, it's going to be a problem. But if he could change his views on life, oh my gosh, I was very, very impressed.
Okay, so now I'm not interested in shilling for Bill Maher because what I heard him say himself, he's self-defined as a pot-smoking, drinking atheist. So I'm feeling sorry for him, but I'm not exactly promoting people to necessarily watch anything that he's doing.
How about when he offered the marijuana to Bobby Jr. and Bobby goes, I don't think that's worth 40 years of sobriety.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting comment right there. I think the reason that I wanted to talk with you more about RFK Jr. is because we had some folks that have been listening to 1850 Main. One of them wrote in and said, what about a Trump RFK Jr. ticket? That was the question. And I thought, okay, Trump RFK. So I asked you. And we said, now, wait a second. This is interesting. When you saw that, what'd you think?
Well, I saw the question before I watched the 2-hour interview with Bill Maher. After watching the 2-hour interview, when I first got the question, the notion was, oh my gosh, everybody's just into personalities. Like it's a beauty pageant. They don't have anything politically in common when it comes to the environment, when it comes to life. Certainly, it's a problem when it comes to COVID and science and vaccinations. So that just shows me people wanting to put two outsiders or two disruptive forces together to win, but based on name and personality, not based on substance. I mean, this is a president of the United States running on a ticket with somebody who's going to be a heartbeat away from the presidency. You can't have people that unequally yoked. So to me, it was just showing one of the problems we have with personalities over policy views. But then after watching the RFK piece with Bill Maher, my thought was, I don't know that RFK would have him.
Well, then the other thought that came to me was, okay, wait a minute. The folks that we've over the years have been listening to the conversations here at 1850 and other places where you and I have the privilege of having nice talks online and on radio, they're some of the smartest people I've ever had a chance to spend time with. I'm guessing that this listener was thinking about an independent ticket.
Doesn't that make all the difference in the world, right?
Yeah, because it's obvious RFK Jr. would never be a part of a Republican ticket.
Sure.
And so what? Now, all of a sudden, the lights went on. I went, wait a second. What if Donald Trump and RFK Jr. ran as independents against both political parties? And all of a sudden, I'm thinking, wow, talk about the disruptive campaign.
And if it was victorious, it would decimate the two-party system.
In one moment, it would be like a bomb dropping in all of the pseudo-reality of the two parties.
Irreparably, or for at least a generation. Yeah, that would be checkmate for the two-party system.
Wow.
And forever, the independent ticket would now match the independent sentiment in America. But these are two people, I don't think they could overcome those things.
No, I don't think it could happen, but just it's a thought. So I was thinking to myself, that listener really had a pretty profound insight.
We also had another thought, and the other thought was, what if they replaced Kamala with RFK? What if Podesta and Soros are behind all of this? They're even vilifying RFK, making a victim out of him, putting him in the exact same positions as Donald Trump with the people, only to put him on the ticket. In other words, you don't get rid of Joe, you get rid of Kamala at the convention, add RFK. Now what do you have?
Because that could happen at the convention.
It could.
Wow.
They tried to make it happen with JFK in 56.
Wow.
His uncle.
So why, I mean, look, we look at these things from every angle and we talk about the things that might happen because this is where the consultants live. There are people right now making a lot of money sitting behind the scenes, testing, polling, researching, talking to people, trying to put together money groups and investors to bring some of these things together. The other thing that flipped me out is we went back to, which is now my, you're going to say is my favorite magazine, and it's not. It's one of 4 things I read
I'm going to ban
every
you
day.
from The Atlantic.
Yeah. All right. And the Atlantic article came out. There was an interview about RFK Jr. in the Atlantic, and he made a comment that I thought, oh my gosh. I didn't agree with it, but I knew you would. He said RFK Jr. said he thinks podcasts are going to determine the outcome of the presidential election.
Well, you never like to miss a beat on the Camelot. So a big part of John F. Kennedy and the New Frontier and Camelot was the first candidate to be that well-spoken with that kind of resume and that kind of looks to be on television. Now, it was interesting because, and I don't know that I buy this, but the notion early on in the 60s and 70s was if you were listening to the Kennedy-Nixon debate on radio, you thought Nixon won. If you were watching on television, you overwhelmingly thought Kennedy won, and you saw Nixon sweating. I don't know that that's the case because I've seen clips from that debate, and I don't care if I was in a phone booth listening upside down. I think Kennedy would have won.
But I know that was true of Bush Gore.
Yes.
Because I did listen to it on radio. It was amazing.
Yeah. But I think, wouldn't it be ironic? I do think that industry talk radio is in trouble.
Yeah.
I think it needs to reinvent itself and in a hurry, and it may find it doesn't have the farm system or bench or depth of knowledge beyond narrative to do so. So I do think that podcast might very well be right now what television was in 1960. One of these elections, whether it's this one or 5 years from now, is going to be decided more by podcast than talk radio. That's for sure. That much I agree with.
If you had told me 10 years ago that would be a credible line appearing in multiple publications, online, on television, on YouTube, we're talking about it, I would have said, you've got to be kidding me.
Well, 10 years ago, Paul Harvey would have been gone, but Larry King would have still been here. Rush Limbaugh still would have been here. Bill O'Reilly would still be on the air.
Tucker Carlson
would still be on television, not necessarily radio.
Or the other way around.
And Michael Savage would still be on the air and influential, none of which exist any longer. So I don't disagree with the comment. I think podcasting, because of, and it's not just the amount of commercialism that is destroying talk radio, but also the narrative talking point repeating versus real understanding, real conversation. I think I give the advantage to podcast. And that's before I watch this 2-hour video. I can tell you that technically that's a video podcast. And that 2 hours, RFK was at a 2. Now he's at a 9. And now that's a big 1 he's missing on life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's already that capability. What I left the podcast thinking more than anything was I don't think RFK has to win a year and 3 months from now, more so than set himself up as the inevitable runaway open election winner in 5 years and 3 months. What if that's the play? And if that's the play, I wouldn't want any part of this election at all.
One of these guys' favorite president is JFK. The other's favorite president is George Washington. Care to take a guess which is which? To learn more about Michael and David, visit 1850mainstreet.com.
Well, another thing that came up in that particular presentation, which also reflects on the podcast conversation and the outcome of the election, is debates, because Fox News has got their ads out now. It's the news that's coming. I couldn't believe it. I don't know. Here we go again. Man, I'm telling you, my scars started aching when I saw the Fox News commercials for "It all starts here, August, the presidential debates, blah, 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 blah."
The Hubris Network, yes. Of course, how do you have, let me, just to point to the elephant in the room, how do you have a circus without the elephant? Donald Trump.
Yeah, but here's the problem. I get the circus, I get the elephants, but how come I always feel like I'm the guy with the shovel having to come up behind them? Right? I mean, the political parties create nothing but mess in our culture. They mess up everything that was established to work in a concept of goodwill, public trust, public service, et cetera. They've monetized everything. It's one of the things that Kennedy talked about. He talked about the corporate capture of the administrative state. In other words, the agencies that are supposed to be watching the chicken coop are being paid off by the guys that own the chicken coop, so they're doing anything they want in the chicken coop.
And that started with Obamacare, which I thought was very interesting in his explanation.
Yes, but this is the same thing as what's going on between the media and the parties and the debates. It's a whole capture technology. They're all in the same game. So not only do we only get a handful of choices at best, but we have to listen to the same absurd, crazy, nonsensical stuff that goes on. I want to thank my wife for being here tonight. I want to thank my husband for being here tonight. Thank you so much, Bill, for that question. I mean, honestly, why doesn't somebody ever say, I'm glad you asked that question for one simple reason. That's the dumbest question I've ever heard on a campaign trail. I'm not even going to bother to answer your stupid question. Give my time to this guy. He needs more help.
Well, before you dismiss my way of saying it, I'll give it to you this way. Ask me how many Yankee games I've watched since Aaron Judge has been out with a toe injury. None. I mean, I don't know that they're going to have much hype. I mean, you can't have what 60% of the party considers the leading candidate not there and have a substantive debate.
So you don't think Trump will show up?
Well, he won't for the. I actually made this statement that I did. I thought if others start getting the attention and we start seeing a little bit of bump because of that attention, he'll naturally show up. First of all, his narcissism might draw him in and back. But no, not for the first or the second. He'll wait a while. He'll have to be goaded back in.
Really?
I think. You think he'll be there from the first one on?
I don't know. No, I truly don't know. I mean, all I can remember is the first time he showed up and they stuck him in the center of the stage and it was over. I mean, the whole race was over on the first question. Brett Baer asked the first question about how many of you are willing to say now you may not support the candidate if it's not you? And like one person raises his hand, Trump.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Okay, all right. He won at hello because he proved he was ready to be a disruptive technology, and that's what people are looking for. Do you think people are looking for disruptive technology again?
Well, I think a 20% support for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. right now is living proof of that. And that Donald Trump is still sitting at 60%, and 40% of Democrats are saying anybody but Biden. Yeah, I would say they're looking for somebody that will come in and represent the forgotten man and bust some things up.
I mean, my life and work and my heart is about the United States Congress, going the whole way back to the Federalist Papers and the construction of the country and in the Constitutional Convention, going the whole way back to George Washington's letter of 1783 when he put together what the principles of our country ought to look like. I mean, I really do believe that our addiction to the White House, to the presidency, to presidential elections, to presidential media, on and on and on and on, it's past cultic. It's unhealthy. It's certainly not good for the republic because when all of us are simply paying attention to the White House and to the presidential election, the administrative state is gone wild and Congress is sitting back sipping lemonade and whatever else they put in the lemonade.
God's been replaced with the Supreme Court. The government's been replaced with the presidency, and man has been replaced with what?
Yeah, well, you lose God, you lose man.
Virtual reality.
Yeah, man's a pile of dust again, okay? I mean, we're there. I mean, we're trying to make man into a machine, but from a machine he goes to dust. It's always the same game. So what's wrong with the debates? What's wrong with the debates? Everything. Everything's wrong with the debates. I mean, we did a non-debate debate a number of years ago.
Oh, I love this.
In the Midwest.
I love that.
Yeah, we did the non-debate debate. We brought in two candidates for governor. And on a major radio show, we basically said, here's the deal. You're in a sound booth. You're in a sound booth. Here's the questions. They had them in advance, plenty of time to prepare. And we said, the deal is this. You come in, we'll ask you the question, and you just go. We will ask you a follow-up. But I mean, you make your best presentation. No gotchas. Nobody's going to hurt you. But if you so much as mention the other guy's name or his party, we hit the button and your time is over and you're out. And we go to the other guy. Do you know these candidates for governor, governor candidates are pretty big egos.
Yeah.
They played the game straight up. I still have the notes. It was the most popular event that station had ever done. Rick Warren picks up on this idea with the non-debate debate and has Obama and McCain.
I remember that.
And he does the same thing. He puts them in booths. He asks them questions. He brings them on individually, and he controls the environment. Do you know that debate was the most popular televised event in that campaign? It was an independent product. We broadcast it on radio over the public square. All right, we had the exclusive on that. Wayne Shepherd and I were thrilled to be there.
By the way, I'd like to add, even before it happened, advantage Obama. But go ahead.
But you know what? It was the best thing McCain ever did. It put him in his best light as well, because he wasn't having to think of three things at the same time as far as who's going to try to get me next, what's he going to say. He was just able to tell us what he thought.
Well, Newt's been saying we got to go back to Lincoln Douglas debate rules. I mean, literal, real debates.
Yeah, but you know why Gingrich is saying that? Because he's the only guy in America that could actually stand up and talk for 30 minutes, even in his altered state of age, et cetera. There's not a candidate in the world that could do a Lincoln Douglas debate.
I didn't mean to trigger you. No, what I'm getting at is...
Don't get me on Gingrich stories.
No. But here's the bottom line. Whatever we're calling debates, whether it's CNN or Fox, are anything but debates. I'd rather do what you were doing.
I wish we could come up with a name that would give these events the decrepit rights that they should have. We need to say something that would cause people to understand just how we're being gamed by the stupidity of this.
We're more important than these candidates in America is what they ought to call it.
I know, subtitle, moronic moments. I mean, it's just, if we go on and on and on, it's just terrible. I wish that, either that or I wish we could have like Bill Murray be one of the people asking questions. You know, we should get the three best comics in America there to ask questions of the candidates.
You should say you got that going for you.
Right.
Yeah, no, anything would be more entertaining than the debacle. And I think they've lost a lot of credibility since the first Trump debates too. So I think they've lost a little thunder. But I guess the first hurdle would be, is Trump going to be there? And can you legitimately have a Republican Party primary debate without the leading by 60% candidate at it? That's a pretty big if.
We get to the Democrats, and the way I understand what I've been reading about the policies of the Democrat National Committee is they will not permit there to be a debate between an incumbent president and any challenger.
I'll do you one better. Do you even think, even if it's Donald Trump, even if it's Governor DeSantis or someone else, I don't think you're going to see Joe Biden in the general debate?
Well, listen, that might be the only reason I'd be excited about having candidates that apparently are mentally incompetent to be able to do a debate, so we don't do one. That, to me, I don't know. It's like kind of a toss-up. Which is worse? You know, it's just not bad. Okay, this is not a. I mean, because honestly.
On that note, I think we need more coffee.
Yes, when we watch, because when I watch those things, I definitely get dumber. Okay, there's just no other way about it. And yes, we need more coffee.
The conversations are just getting started. To get connected, check out 1850mainstreet.com. We don't data mine anyone or sell your information. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single conversation. We'll see you next time here at 1850 Main Street.